Hello there. My name is Alex Rossman. I'm the External Affairs Director for the Michigan League for Public Policy, and this is an episode of our Yeas and Nays discussion on public policy action and advocacy. And for this episode, we're going to be looking at some resources available to the public and in particular policy advocates to help you engage on the state legislative efforts, learn more about bills and how you can get more information on them, both the substance of the legislation as well as where it's at in the process, what the votes were, etc. So this is going to be a walkthrough of the Michigan Legislature's website, legislature.mi.gov. And we'll go ahead and get to it. I'm going to share my screen and just really kind of walk you through the website and what different information is available there. Okay, just double checking to make sure my screen is being shared here. So this is the homepage for legislature.mi.gov. Important to remember that this URL is legislature, T-U-R-E, not lator, T-O-R. And this is the main landing page for the Michigan Legislature's website. It's got all the committee information, all the bill information, information on legislators, the session schedule, all these things. And honestly, I'm going to be going through this sections of this in different sections. So today I'm really just going to focus on how you can use this website to find out more information about bills and introduced legislation. And we will have another discussion at another time to get into the committee process and committee information. So, so this is the landing page where you can search a bill by number. This is helpful if you already know the legislation. So if you're familiar with the bill, you know the bill number, you can just throw that in here. But if you don't know that number, this is not your best bet here. Another important thing to remember that the legislative sessions are in 2-year cycles based on the election. And every new legislative session, the bill numbers start all over. So even if there is an issue or a piece of legislation that's introduced in multiple sessions, it's not going to have the same number every 2 years. So you're going to need to stay on top of the issue and make sure you're up to speed on what the current bill number for that legislative session is. So then you can go to the left-hand side of the page here and click on bills. And then this is where you can look for bills for a variety, through a variety of different ways. So again, if you know the bill number, you can put that in here. Keywords, I find this touch and go sometimes. Sometimes the keyword that you associate with the bill is going to be the same keyword that it is labeled with on this website. Other times, it is not, because I think the keywords are the real brief description of the bill and also the language of the bill, which is usually more technical. A prime example of one that I kept running into is the what I have been referring to, and most organizations have been referring to as DUI expungement, but the actual legislation, I believe, refers to operating while intoxicated expungement. So OWI, not DUI. So if you search DUI, that would not likely come up. Another big one here that I use a lot is by sponsor. So if you click here on by sponsor, then you go over again, you want to make sure you are in the current session here. If you wanted to go back and look at other sessions, look, you can go all the way back to 1989, 1990. I don't know how many of us wish we could go back to 1989 and 1990 right now, but if you were looking for legislative info that far back, you could go that far back, but you really want to make sure you're in the current legislative session. Then the bills are broken up by the House of Representatives and the state Senate. And then you can search by primary sponsorship or secondary and primary sponsorship. So primary sponsorship is usually only going to be 1 or 2 lawmakers, and they are essentially the lead on that issue. They requested the bill. It is their baby, so to speak, their pet issue. And then secondary sponsorship is anyone that they work with in the House or Senate that agrees that it's a good idea and wants to co-sponsor it. And so if you're looking for any issue that a legislator has put their name on, you would look at secondary and primary sponsorship. If you're looking for who the point person on a legislative issue is, say there's a bill you really like, you want to find out who the most important person to contact on that bill is, you would go with primary sponsorship. And then you just go through this list of names here, and you can look up each legislator and what they have sponsored for this session. So, and then you would click on a name. I'm going to go look at Representative Padma Kupa, who is the sponsor of one of the bills related to driver's licenses for all Michigan residents, including non-citizens. So I'm going to pull up her primary sponsorship page. And then you get a list of everything they've sponsored. This is another thing I could go into more in depth at another time, but the difference between resolutions and bills. Resolutions are mainly symbolic things. They're either establishing an awareness day or an awareness month, or calling on Congress to do something. Not to say that these aren't important things. A resolution established Pride Month last month. Resolutions do establish, May 2021 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So these are important things, but there's a substantive difference, and they are more kind of symbolic or awareness related than substantive legislation, and they don't really change state law per se. And then we get into the bills, and each of these bills, and here is the bill I was referring to that we're just going to pull up as an example for you. And so here's the individual page for a bill. It's got Representative Kupa listed as the primary sponsor. And then these are all the individuals who have co-sponsored it. You will find a lot that the respective partisan caucuses co-sponsor one another's bills quite a bit. So you will see a lot of bills that are co-sponsored by all Democrats, all the House Democrats, or all the Senate Republicans. The other thing, if you're trying to find, like me, for a lot of times trying to find out if a bill has bipartisan support, you have to kind of know the lawmaker's party affiliation by name, because it is not shown here in this list. The other thing you could do that's a little more tedious is just click on each person, and it will go to their specific website, and it will be apparent whether they are a Democrat or a Republican. And then you can look at the introduced bill itself, both as a web page or a PDF. And when you're looking at this language is very, very technical. It's usually changing an existing state law or public act. And then the changes are either the strike through font is literally meaning eliminating language from the bill. And then bold is inserting it. So all this other text is already in law and on the books, and these the bold text or the strike throughs are the only changes being made currently. But again, this is very technical, pretty hard to interpret. Unfortunately, I picked a bill that doesn't have a better bill analysis, so I will find another one in a second. But then just showing here, this is very helpful too, the history of the bill. So when it was first introduced, and then what committee it was assigned to. And again, we're going to get into committees, how to engage with committees, how to look at committee meeting minutes and testimony, how to submit testimony. We'll do all of that in another segment, but just giving that a rundown here. Yeah, so trying to think of another bill that was recently passed. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to show you another thing that you can go into. Over here on the left-hand margin, there's public acts, and these are all the signed bills that Governor Whitmer has signed into law. And so if you wanted to see if the bill was signed into law, you could check here. Trying to find something fairly recent that has passed. Okay, so this is the some budget legislation for K-12 school aid, House Bill 4411. And this has gone much farther in the process than the other bill I had pulled up, so I can show you a few more different things. So here on the bill documents, as legislation goes through the process, it tends to get changed or tweaked each step of the way. So these are PDFs of each different iteration of the legislation. So the House introduced bill, as passed by the House, as passed by the Senate, House concurred bill. And so generally, if you're trying to be as up to date on a bill as possible, you're going to want to go to the last one in this list as that being the most current. But here's another thing that I wanted to show you is the House and Senate fiscal analysis. So this, and again, these are done on each iteration of the bill at each stage. And so you want to see as passed by the House or as passed by the Senate, those are the most recent. And you click on that PDF, and there's an analysis here. That explains things a little better. This is another one that I'm realizing is a little more technical, even in the analysis, because it's budget related. So it's still really dense and numbers heavy. A lot of times this analysis will be in more narrative form, and I would say in simpler terms than the bill language. So while this isn't the best example, knowing that whatever bill you're looking at, if you click on that House or Senate fiscal analysis, there will usually be a better description that makes it a little easier to understand what the purpose of the bill, what the impact is. Sometimes they will include a list of what organizations support or oppose bills, what the expected revenue hit or price tag is, all things that are important to consider there. So remember that fiscal agency analysis is really your friend in trying to better understand the legislation and look at things a little closer. And then because this bill has gone farther along in the process, I wanted to take a closer look at the history here and where it's at. So goes basically the timeline following the bill, just like Schoolhouse Rock would do, of what committee it got sent to, when that committee passed it or substituted it, when the full House or Senate voted on it. And then this is another important and helpful one. is when a bill is passed the House or Senate here, you can look and see the vote by which it passed. So this, and hey, look, Yeas and Nays reference. Again, that's the inspiration for the name of this segment here. But this bill passed with 105 yeas and 3 nays in the House. So not only bipartisan, but nearly unanimous. So that's usually a safe assumption that that's a pretty positive bill all the way around. This one, you want to look a little closely. If the votes are a lot closer, a lot of times that will mean a party line vote, that the Senate, House or Senate Republican majority all voted for something and the Democratic caucus voted against. There's always a little bit of overlap there. But for the most part, those widespread margins usually mean a universally good or acceptable legislation. Those closer votes raise some questions in my mind. And so then I dig a little closer. The other thing you can do is click on these HJs and SJs are the House journals and Senate journals for the session that day. And so if you click on the one when that vote was taken, and again, we are looking at House Bill 4412. So you pull up the journal, and I usually just do a Control F. And then here we get to the vote itself. So if you wanted to see if your state legislator voted yes or no on a bill, you can look at their name here and see whether they voted yay or nay on the legislation you're interested in, and then you can follow up with them. And then this just continues to go through the process. Again, the standard process for legislation is it gets introduced in either the House or Senate, then it gets assigned to a committee. It gets discussed and debated in committee, then voted out of committee. Then the full House or Senate votes on the bill and sends it to the other body. So Senate originated bills then get sent to the House for either what's called concurrence, where they basically say, yes, this is great as is. They vote on it the same way, or they make their own substitutes and amendments and then send it back to the other. And so then, again, you just want to use this to track the process. So here was the original House passed vote. Then here the Senate voted. And note that there's also a vote on giving an immediate effect, which does mean the bill takes immediate effect, or there's delayed implementation. And then when it goes back to the other body, so for example, there was a Senate substitute to the House bill that the House then had to vote on. Again, a largely unanimous vote, and then the bill goes to the governor for her signature. So this is a real quick overview of the resources that are available at the legislative website, specifically related to looking at bills, both the substance of the bills, the sponsorship of them, where they're at in the process, and how the votes went. Again, this is just an overview. We're going to be getting into other aspects of this process further, in particular looking at the committee process and how to engage with that. But hopefully this is helpful to understand that this website is available. It's always funny to me when I talk about this website, because I did, before coming to the Michigan League for Public Policy, work in the state Senate on the communications side. And I think it was several years before I was fully aware of this website and what information was on it and how much it could help me. And so I try and make as many people as possible aware of this website and all of the information available. It's really helpful to see where a bill is at in the process, and that in turn can guide your advocacy. Okay, do I need to be looking at the committee or the full House, or is it already passed out of the House? I need to be looking at the Senate. And then also seeing how your individual lawmakers voted on a bill, so you can either praise them for supporting a bill you like, or voice criticism for their vote on a bill you don't like. So that's a quick rundown of this website. Again, if you have any questions or want more information, please comment on this post and we'll be happy to follow up again. And again, we will be continuing to look at portions of the legislative process and resources that are available to you to help make it a little more accessible and understandable for everyone. There is a lot of information out there. You just need to know where to look for it, and that's why we're here to help with that. So thanks again for your time, and we look forward to continuing to speak with you on the legislative process and how you can help advocate on the issues important to you. Thanks.